a good young girl and a good young boy sees both as they grow up and they become proper human beings. But if it's a polygamy kind of separation marriage, there are always explanations that have to be made. Mommy, why don't we stay with daddy? Daddy, where is mommy? At school, children have both parents, me, I don't have them. Or perhaps I want to go to daddy's place and you're trying to explain to the child, please do not go because it's a stepmother. And most times you end up vilifying a stepmother or vilifying the father. Children end up hearing one-sided stories.
Yeah, sure.
And at the end of the day, you don't have a whole individual. That individual needs to work so hard on himself when he grows up.
Mental Health Month, and what a coincidence. It's also the Summer World Cup, and the men must be happy, Herod, aren't they?
Sure.
Yeah, the men must be happy. We've had the World Cup. I don't know whether your GOAT has scored. I thought mine would score 4 goals, but they could not go beyond 2. That aside, I think it's important for us as a community to, just get off that high horse of speaking big topics and, deal with the issues that affect all of us. Things like football, things like the movies we watch, things like culture, and see how they connect with these things of policy. I think we must stop doing things the old way and just deal with these cultural issues and see how they relate to our everyday lives. So at the Policy Digest podcast, we have started the Policy Digest Circle. So every month you'll be seeing a number of videos of either 2 or 3 CEPA staff. They sit down and just analyze the issues that happened in the week or in the month. And just like your normal radio talk show, we'll just be speaking to each other about, how, what's going on in the world and what meaning we can attach to those events. So I hope you can just sit down, relax, get your cup of coffee, and we start. So Herod, and Herod is here with me. Herod, you're most welcome.
Thank you, Joseph.
I'm glad
to be here. Sure.
Absolutely.
To the fireplace after a hunt has happened, like in the days of old.
Yeah.
Sure.
You just sit and see what's going on, right? Herod, are you supporting a team in the World Cup?
Apparently, I'm not supporting said team in the World Cup.
Jesus, why aren't you
but
supporting
I'm hate watching said teams as well.
And there you're watching, my friend. It's just that you've added hate.
If at all Messi is a team, then that's the team I am supporting for World Cup. So my GOAT, as people normally say,
your GOAT is
may surprise us with a double World Cup. Already seeing the hat-tricks coming in.
I don't want a guy I don't want a guy to... I absolutely don't... it's not happening. It's not happening.
It can actually happen. But you see the thing with last year's World Cup.
Because would win the Ballon d'Or, and I don't think it's a good thing.
I don't think he can. Don't you think you need to be backed up with several other achievements? I mean, you're in the American League versus Ousmane Dembele, who already has like a treble, Champions League. He has some good achievements here and there.
But like Messi.
I think then it would be rigged.
How he takes the Ballon d'Or again and it ends the debate on who is a GOAT. I don't want my GOAT.
Yeah, but you see that the thing just about Messi, which is interesting, is that I think he's the chosen one of God. If you see last year's World Cup, in the first game they lose to Saudi Arabia. As it keeps on going, Martinez makes that last minute save against Kolomwani. That stuff is not existent because it was supposed to be a volley. Everyone knew it is going in. They get into a penalty shootout, and Emiliano Martinez contributes to rage baiting the other team to the point that a penalty kick is missed.
Yeah, I remember.
And it is given to Messi.
It's a very common one, yeah.
Yeah, it's more like that was supposed to be the weakest Argentine team, much more than the other World Cups where even Argentina reached finals.
Stronger.
Actually, that team for the last World Cup it had young children. Enzo Fernandez, right now he's in Chelsea. Overall, the bigger dogs you had there was Di Maria and Messi himself. The majority of the team was just young. I don't even think anyone can name the top 12 players of that squad, but for France, you could.
And people are having fun. For me, what stood out is Kavura Andrew.
Yeah, sure.
The Ugandan, having a Ugandan out there on the stage, towering, introducing John Teddy, like patting him on the back, like is his birthday. It's NBA sport. It's I don't know. Ugandan talent seems like it's not making its way up there. It's not giving.
Yet it must give, eh?
It's not giving. I don't know how we get more talent. There, we have AFCON coming up.
Yeah, sure.
On our end as well.
And at the same time, we are hosting, not so?
Right. We're hosting AFCON. I don't know how ready we are. The last time we had a conversation in Parliament on this matter of AFCON, there had been some questions that were raised on how ready we are.
Yeah, questions to do with the accommodation, the hotels that are around.
The accommodation.
You're hosting AFCON, but you don't have a single 5-star hotel that is nearby. There were conversations around government having discussions with Airbnb owners around the place to see how they could be able to, let's say, broker that kind of arrangement.
I don't know what the Airbnbs will do. Are there enough in the Hoima Stadium?
Yeah, Hoima Stadium.
That's Hoima. I was about to say Masindi is Hoima.
Yeah. And I don't know how far government has
because there was an issue of there's no accommodation around the facility. I think the CAF had raised those issues.
Yeah.
But I've realized I think they have put a tax exemption in the latest tax bills that are kicking off in the new financial year. They put a tax exemption for those who want to create hotels, and if you have your money,
that is a very, very good way.
AFCON money, but I don't know why. Because if it is profitable, why is it that people are not investing in it? Like if it's profitable to have those hotels, because sports infrastructure tends to also have a bit of a problem. Because let's say you put up a hotel, around Hoima. So AFCON gets done.
Yeah, the hotel will only make money during AFCON. The rest will be vibes and inshallah.
Yeah, it's a bit, I don't know. Also, let's say you, Harold, assuming you open a Airbnb in after
sure.
AFCON, let's say you had 100% occupancy rate. What happens after?
It drops significantly. Ideally, even the people who came to occupy will go back to where they came, and a few Ugandans would also come around where you are will soon go back to where they are. But even your Airbnb will suffer competition with the local lodges. Those ones for like 5K, 4K a night. So before you know it, you are really out of business. And for hotel people, you have put up a permanent structure.
Yeah, it's a permanent job.
You have put
hotel, up putting up like Sheraton.
You put up waiters, waitresses. People have serious contracts on there. It's not something you can just undo after a season, unless Uganda is promising you like 3 AFCONs. It's not a viable financial investment decision that you want to make.
I don't know how many teams are in AFCON normally. Because normally, let's say how many teams will be in Uganda. Do we have enough hotels to take them up? You know how England took up like an entire hotel?
Yeah.
So let's say Egypt. How many teams are normally in AFCON?
And perhaps even the other question is how many team supporters normally travel with their teams to AFCON?
That's a lot.
Ugandans alone, how many of them have been flying to support Uganda all the way to AFCON? Do you have quite a big number?
I see a number, yeah.
Then also, geographically, where is Uganda located in lieu or in comparison to most of the AFCON participants? Is someone comfortable flying from South Africa to Uganda? I think there are a few benefits, like I don't think Uganda has a visa. Perhaps if I get this wrong, but I don't think
in some countries we do. Some countries we some countries we don't. Some countries we do.
Yeah.
It's on a case-by-case basis. I just need to check the list.
So I think largely because of that.
But they could remove it
to accommodate during AFCON to encourage people to come in here and there. But I also think it's a good opportunity for the Uganda tourism sector. I think they've been trying a lot this year. They had the other artist come around. Was she called Spice?
Yes,
that
I saw
dancehall
twice.
artist. I think she also went to Uganda Kingdom. So I think
Yes, I
it's
saw.
it's a good radical.
I think they gave
Yeah.
him my Ugandan name or something.
She even promised to leave us with to give us a Ugandan baby as a gift to Uganda.
Okay, Spice was overdoing
Yeah,
it.
Spice
now.
overdid it. Yeah,
Spice was overdoing it.
but I
Yes,
think
yeah.
the entire overall goal was to. I think the tourism industry was aggressively pushing towards having tourism happen within Uganda, and I think it's a very, very big advantage that they might want to take over this time round. Just like Rwanda was able to master it by having 2 finalists in a UEFA Champions League final.
And
Visit Rwanda on Arsenal
Rwanda is
and
in
on PSG.
another-
Yeah, so they are
Also,
like on a
Rwanda
whole
is
other.
bidding to host AFCON alone. For us, we are hosting as Tanzania.
Yeah,
It's bidding alone.
yeah, and I think it's quite a
Formula
radical
One.
move. Yeah.
What aren't we doing? What aren't we doing? But I'm told they were in conversation with some Premier League club. That's what I heard the recent the CEO of Ghana Tourism Board. We might have Blackburn or Chelsea or Man U. I don't know.
Yeah, and I also saw. I think there was the FIFA pushing and the Ministry of Sports pushing for to have greater incentives extended to Ugandans that have a dual citizenship. For example,
to
like
play
those
for-
to play for Uganda for those that are in Britain and for example, I am called Amutiaba, but I grew up from the UK. Ideally, I think they've come to realize that the actual good talent, for some reason, exists right there, which speaks to our kind of sports infrastructure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think AFCON should be like a wake-up kind of call in a number of ways. For example, in a number of sectors, your stadiums may not be so ready, you may not have the hotels to do so, but even your current sports infrastructure, such as FIFA, is not even producing a single Premier League player. Whereas for Nigeria, for Congo, you have people in major leagues. I mean, look at the Wonder Kid, I've forgotten his name, the one from Chitende. The one
Alan
from Northern
Okello.
Uganda, Alan Okello, is like one of the better Wonder Kids. He's not playing in the UEFA Champions League, which is so interesting.
In the Tanzania.
Yeah, so I think for Uganda to try to incentivize those other players elsewhere, it is
And I'm
more
told we
like
have quite a number. Man City, I think we have.
it's more like
Divine
forgotten.
Mukasa, I'm forgetting about
yeah,
there are a
yeah,
number
he's,
of players.
he's
yeah.
called Divine Mukasa.
Yeah.
So it's a silent, soft concession that we are not about to do it better here. So we rather work with those that have done it better.
Yeah, and now that you
and
speak
bring
about
talent
it, by
home.
the way, let's
Yeah.
say Senegal. When you look at the Senegalian squad, most people there they don't play within Senegal, Morocco, or Egypt. So we might need to work outside in rather than in outside. It seems as though I don't know who is the best Ugandan player that has been the best player of all time, and maybe it could come externally. I think even if it is Messi, they shown, and then you could see that feedback at a national level. And you know there were so many cultural issues that emerged at the World Cup. I don't know whether you watched the England Ghana game. Did you?
Oh yeah. I saw the Indian Ghana where the British were saying this is juju. We are seeing juju on the field.
The culture.
It's the one that I saw. It was the culture shock where someone was pouring
I saw it.
dust and Hurricane missed the goal.
I
So
saw it.
interesting, 0-0. Yeah.
I don't know. Then I saw, of course, DRC painfully. So they would see their drip in the final or something.
By the way, did they pay for the other man who I had the last time they denied him entry? The one who used to stand for DRC and stand for a whole 90 minutes during the stadium as a statue, dressed up in a suit, if you remember him.
Yeah. And
There was
I
like
saw him.
controversy
I saw
around him
him.
not attending. Has he
I saw.
attended?
He did.
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
it's quite a situation. Speaking of that, they had stopped most DRC supporters because of Ebola. And speaking of that, recently Uganda has had it rough.
Yeah.
And almost every big event has been cancelled. I don't know what are your comments on in terms of how the World Health Organization has and the Ugandan government has handled this.
Yeah. So I would think that, and this is quite controversial, but I think COVID was a very, very good example of responses as they're being handled by countries and by the World Health Organization. You realize COVID as it was, perhaps some say the coronavirus existed, others say it was just an over-amplification by international media to push for things.
I heard of, even in the US, I think what's his name? The Fauci is facing prosecution that there was some misrepresentation of information.
Yeah, which is so interesting because the World Health Organization, as it was, the lockdowns began from there. Now, you see, in East Africa, one country refused to have a lockdown happen to the point that we said even their president must have died of the so-called coronavirus, that is Tanzania. But lockdown did not happen in Tanzania because the nature of a virus like coronavirus, whereby if I sneeze, it is already in the air, it only means it is extinction rate for Africa, where you have the worst health systems and the worst kind of cleanliness standards. But just hold in right there for a moment. You realize that for a vaccine to be developed, it takes years. I think, if I have my facts right, the vaccine that took the shortest time to be developed and tested took 7 years. What happened during COVID-19? You have a number of vaccines that are developed in less than a year without clinical trials that are sufficient.
Yeah, sufficient.
So what happened is you have AstraZeneca, you have Johnson & Johnson, you have like 5 pharmaceutical companies creating a vaccine for the same kind of thing to heal everyone else. But where do they get the backing? I think the backing comes from the World Health Organization. For as long as the World Health Organization said that these vaccines can be pushed out, they give them good PR, they say that COVID is such a big threat to all of us, what happens is Uganda ended up locking down just like everyone else. Well, Tanzania did not, and they did not have such a death rate that was happening. So I think Uganda's response...
There's that debate, and it's a huge one.
Yeah.
I think it's Hussein Kroma wrote in a book. Were we right in using methods that, in using the advice of the WHO at the time?
Yeah.
Or did we need to look at our context?
And
for example, they had said
yes.
lockdown. They said lockdown people, you do everything at home. In Germany, you can order Uber Eats, you can, like everything you can. But here, if you stay in Boate, say I'll get everything at home, there's no logistical system to manage such a scenario. So I totally agree with you that there's a bit of a problem with how WHO says X, and then every other government has to follow through. And I saw Kasuja pushing back, saying, look.
It's not really as you are representing us to be.
We're doing, right?
Yeah, we know we have a health system, and I think it's more like a wake-up call from post-COVID. There was a bit of concession from a number of countries, USA itself included, that the handling of the situation, I think you've already heard of the side effects of certain vaccines, very many lawsuits happening in the US.
Yeah.
People got vaccinated, some of them died right away, they got worse because the vaccines... It was simply a bit of making money, but it all began from the PR. And you need to understand, I think the nature of the PR of the World Health Organization at times is quite so big in that even if they make a mistake, it is seen as gospel truth. I mean, if the World Health Organization said this, BBC will actually also have that happening.
Amplify it.
Before you know it, even BBC has BBC happening within Uganda. They have branches all over, so it is really amplified. So I think the response must have come from a wake-up call that, hey, I believe we have our own systems. It's not the first time that Ebola has actually happened around. We have happened to manage this situation, report the right numbers. We have a whole Uganda media center
absolutely,
that can put this across. I think the whole idea of Ebola is also somehow blown out of proportion. For example, our very, very good Law Development Center nearly put a whole graduation
on
hold because of the Ebola threat. And it was because of so much backlash from people. And I think someone said it very, very well. One of the students said in one of the corners that I think Uganda, as an institution, is about to have a trading expo. There's a kind of event they're going to have with so many people that are happening. The ministry knows about it, and it is still going on to happen. Why then are you trying to look at this and blow it out of proportion than it actually
because
is?
There's some people who even argued with Matters Day that you would have stopped people in the border districts from Congo and allow other people to gather. Because even in the US, there had been an Ebola case which was being managed. But the World Cup happened. And the World Cup has millions of people going to that very country. And Someone could argue, no, you're being insensitive. No, it's true. Congo is always going to have Ebola. There's going to be some random war, a virus we don't know, maybe another, I don't know. There could be another virus coming. So, like, is business in Uganda always going to stop because there is trouble across the
horizon?
Across the border. So it's an active question. I was listening into the arguments of Amos Wekesa. Of course, he's very passionate about tourism and all, just to put a bit of temperament on the argument. I know that can be instances where you regulate for the greater good, but there has to be a level at which we reach and say, where do we draw the line? Because, for example, a lot of activity has stopped, a lot of it, and this means businesses, and sometimes for like tourists, they see how it's gone. Eh? By the time you're recovering from this, okay, now you've recovered, assuming there's no Ebola, you have to now spend another 6 to 8 months rebuilding the brand. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm going to type Uganda, Ebola is what would, you know how...
On Google.
I'm traveling to Uganda, Ebola, you see,
trending news. Ebola cases have increased exponentially by 2.
Yeah, because let me ask, next year for AFCON, what is going to happen? Are they going to cancel AFCON?
Because there is Ebola in DRC.
Can you rule out that it will not be there?
In fact, it's not that it will not be there, it has to be there. It's almost as though if something has to happen, it will happen, despite of the fact that you have Ebola.
Yeah, so what really happens, right? And for me, I think there has to be an active conversation about how do you protect business in Uganda, right? Are we doing enough in our international policy? We have an entire Minister of Foreign Affairs. How are we managing this situation? What do we need to do? Because it seems as though our specific country has that. It's very, very vulnerable. Because it's even, we have an entire name of a disease, Ebola individual virus, which I think is like not very, very, very healthy. It's still Men's Month, and you see, we have to care about men. And one of the men that people have been speaking about is none other than Jonas C. Do you know about Jonas C, man?
Jonas C has been one of the most controversial names, just
above
above Donald Trump.
Just above Donald Trump.
It's almost as though we have somehow forgotten about Donald Trump as controversial, and now we have a certain Jonas C. And I think the question around the airs is, who is Jonas C? What is Jonas C doing?
The name Jonas, I don't know whether are you Jonas? I don't know. You've heard of the idea of Jonas.
You might be the Jonas we're actually looking for. Ideally, you might be the most threatening.
Jonas. The first time I think I see statuses within my community. Jonas, Polygamist, Jonas. I'm like, what is happening? You know, everyone, they watch for 30 seconds. They are posting, this movie is a banger. Ooh.
You're saying,
I saw it everywhere. And I was like, oh, what's going on Netflix?
Yeah, Jonas reminds me of those old days when I used to be in my father's car, and I used to wonder, who is this man called Saleh? You know, like when you're walking, you're saying, this thing is not for Saleh. This thing is not for sale. When you say this is for sale, this is for Saleh. So I'm wondering, who is this man called Saleh that owns almost everything, sells almost everything, and almost everything is not supposed to be sold to him? So I think Jonas is one of those living legends that have been able to transcend time, that he has to reach you wherever you are.
Yeah, Jonas. I don't know who the person who wrote that script, movie script. Maybe speaking about intent. Do you think they achieved their intention? The one who cast the movie.
Yeah. I believe whoever sat down and wrote a well, carefully curated but deliberate script of The Polygamist really had certain intent. And I think the ultimate intent of all producers and writers, despite the fact that again, it's subject to the interpretation of the masses, is first of all attention. Are you able to garner attention to your specific work? Is your work out there? And then things such as intention can normally come out. Somehow they're subjective. But I would think that the very, very first step to the fact that a certain South African wrote something when I was deep in my sleep. I don't know how old they are. Perhaps they wrote it before I was even born, or perhaps as a toddler.
Yeah, I'm told it's based off a book.
Yeah.
Like a playwright of sorts. Yeah.
And I've also heard that perhaps the script was rejected by a few people here and there before it actually came out. It reminds me of Squid Game. Squid Game had the same fate. But I think the similarity between shows like Squid Game and The Polygamist is that the kind of fame they get and the kind of intent is to always structure narrative a certain way. The entire idea of writing is to tell a story. The entire idea of telling a story, just like we had when we were growing up, was to pick out a lesson. And the entire idea of a lesson is to be able to structure narrative and descent a particular way. So I would think that the goals of The Polygamist, even the title is quite interesting. They do not normally say the sacred husband, like those Nigerian movies. It's just so direct that this is The Polygamist, and the entire intent of it is to bring out the vile evils within polygamy.
Let's do the protagonists.
Yes.
Would you argue that the movie has two protagonists or one?
Oh, I would argue that the framing of the movie actually has one protagonist, but I would actually argue symbolically that there are actually two protagonists. There are two sides to a story.
I just want us to start with one, Jonas themselves.
Yeah.
And let's look at his story arc. I think, of course, he's portrayed as a villain. I don't know. What do you think the writer is or the producer is trying to achieve here?
Yeah, I believe the producer is trying to still show two sides. The entire idea is Jonas himself was a victim of his own circumstances as he was growing up. So the idea of Jonas as a character is that we don't just get his current story and the things that he does. We get the context of where he comes from. And I think Jonas, just like very many people, desired power or wanted to have a certain kind of dream. It's just that the means of reaching said dream are what the protagonist is trying to bring out. But I think the producer or writer, the writer is trying to show that him as a character, he did not become what he is on day one. He became what he was back from where he was, but in the current status quo.
By the way, because I remember a scene where with his, was it third wife? Forgetting the name, the one who paid their children.
From the village, yes.
Village.
Yeah.
Even at that time when he was in high school, he was
and he lied
already
to
engaging in the behavior.
He lied to her that I got this other woman simply because she has a rich father and I can be able to have access to such wealth and open doors. And you see, I am doing it for us. I am doing this same thing because I love you. So Jonas is a power-hungry person. It's just the means that are available to him are that he can actually get away with manipulation. But I think at a point, he's a deeply lonely and frustrated person who almost only enjoys the thrill of things. His choice of women are the women that disturb him, that give him a bit of an ick. If the ick is not here with this kind of woman, he would then shift to another kind of woman who would give him something to play with. I think Jonas, like very many of us that have a problem-solving brain or a kind of brain that wants challenges. So Jonas, as a person, has already accomplished everything in the world of business. So he keeps on looking for new things to conquer, and unfortunately, he objectifies females to the point that he sees it as a new kind of adventure, a young one, an old one, all of them. And he does not dump any of them. He wants all of them, but in different proportions. And you will see that towards the end, during his fall back, he falls back to the one who will love him because in his whole life, he has not known any kind of care or affection at all.
So but to him, it's the object.
Yeah, it is. He treats not just women as objects, but very soon the same kind of objectification extends to his children. And very soon it extends to his own brother.
Just circling back. Yeah. Because the different people he's interacting with in the story, and again, we're about to just have a short break, that they represent some form of archetype. So let's say the first archetype is he dates the first wife in order to, it's an extractive relationship, right? and in that very sense, I think that people who are within such a relationship, what happens to relationships that are extractive in nature, where one partner is in it for the love, the other is in it to provide the love, but most importantly to extract. And what means of closure are available for them? Because the movie as well platforms options like divorce, options like separation,
coexistence to a point whereby someone allows to co-parent, to have
Absolutely.
another
I
wife
just wanted
around.
us to discuss those intersecting themes just after the break.
You are listening to the Policy Digest, a Center for Policy Analysis podcast that explores how African societies are governed and how people and their leaders are shaping the future of their communities. The Center for Policy Analysis is an independent think tank shaping parliamentary democracy, governance, and public policy in Uganda and beyond. Our mission is to shape public policy and strengthen democratic governance by delivering high-quality research, fostering collaboration, and empowering citizens. Our vision is a democratic society with transparent, accountable, and responsive governance systems. What sets CEPA apart? A unique consortium model that integrates expertise from diverse partners for multidisciplinary approaches. We pioneer thought leadership, leveraging tools like artificial intelligence to enhance impact. Through collaborative advocacy, we empower stakeholders to engage with legislative processes, all while combining rigorous research with a deep understanding of Uganda's political economy. Our flagship initiatives include Parliament Watch Uganda, that bridges the gap between the citizens and Parliament, the Policy Digest podcast that explores politics and public affairs across Africa, and the CEPA Convo, our bi-monthly X-Space tackling key public issues. Our work spans parliamentary democracy, human rights, public health, road safety, climate justice, artificial intelligence, and more, including the Africa Regional Conference on Parliament and Legislation. Join CEPA in shaping policies, amplifying voices, and building a democratic future. Visit www.cepa.or.ug to learn more or follow us on social media. The Center for Policy Analysis, a leading public policy think tank.
So as we, of course, analyze the archetype, what happens to extractive relationships? Because it seems as though the first wife was a victim. Jonas was extracting from them. But also, I think the wives who were coming after were extractive. Two, the relationship seemed like pleasure, but extraction. There was an extraction at the end of the day, even if. So, what are your comments on the extractive nature of the relationships that are portrayed within the storyline?
So I think if you yourself are extractive, then it is only natural that you think everyone is to a point. So you are detached from everyone. You know how a thief is always looking around the corner because they think, a thief is not the best example, how a drug lord or a mafia is always looking around corners. They start to see things that are not there. They think someone is always after them. Like they say, if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Or if you lay your bed, so must you lay in it. So a person who is extractive, like Jonasi was from his first relationship, going forward in all these other relationships, in his mind, he had the idea that for as long as I have this money, I have this control, people want to extract something out of me, what can I also extract out of them? That's what I think lawyers call quid pro, like something for something must give. So the nature of extractive relationships is, if both parties know they are extracting from themselves, it is toxic inherently. It's going to end right away. One of them will stab the other. Now, if one party is extracting and the other one is being extracted from, the party that is being extracted from, in this case, Jonas's wife, they will hold on for so long. Because the idea is, the nature of an extractive person, they are narcissistic. So if they are narcissistic, they are never present, they are never around. But the other party who's ever present and ever around, they are investing much more than in a normal relationship. You see, in a normal relationship whereby it is party A and B, it's not extractive. Everyone is investing equally. Everyone wants it to work. In an extractive relationship, one person is completely detached and they don't love because, like Jonasi, he's used to extracting. Whereas now for you, who is not extracting, you are investing. You are going through, just like our parents have invested in us. It has been the most extractive relationship I have had, and you have had is on you and your parent. There's a time your mother reaches and they say to themselves, like in Labaganda say, azare chibia chiwongerera. They have extracted so much for so long. What's the concept in psychology? Cognitive
dissonance?
Exactly. I think it's a concept where you have put so much into an idea for so long that when you are shocked that the idea is not good, you will at least fight to protect it. The whole idea of extractive relationships is I have invested so much of my time, so much of my resources, so many cover-ups for so long that I just cannot abandon. It's like people who go at war. We are now at the front lines. We have left our children, our parents, our wives back. We just cannot turn back. We need to see this through to the very end. And the nature of that is that it's either the extracted party who will be extracted to the point that they die, or they will reach a point where they have been so much extracted to the peak that now the revenge is the worst.
You're shaking a table with very expensive drinks.
Surely.
One of them is going to fall.
Yeah. So
one of them is going to fall. The table has very, very
expensive drinks, eh? Interesting.
Because there are many Jonases who are
and many Jonas's partners that are also equally investing so much in such a relationship.
They continue to engage in extractive relationships.
Yeah,
there are many states which are very, very extractive, but
which Joseph, I think
they keep loyal to the state entity because
which I think
they fear for what would happen if
the cardinal rule of all relationships has always been reciprocation to a certain measure.
Without enough
reciprocation, someone is always guaranteed to leave. But what happens if someone is not getting that reciprocation and they're investing enough, a lot, they get into a state of cognitive dissonance. They're now putting in so much. So I think to me, the nature of any relationship to a point, it must be reciprocative. Our relationship with Uganda to a point is that it must be there.
Of Jonathan kept asking, like, what haven't I done for you? Yeah, what have I done to deserve this? Like, I have been with you all the time. I have. What haven't I done?
I have withstood when you told me this woman is in the picture.
I have done this, but you talked about inches. When I give you 20 inches, you go 30. I agree with you that reciprocation is a fundamental factor in relationships because it creates it creates a balance of power, right? It's something must
form
give.
Of checks and balances.
Yeah, it
I can
helps.
hold you accountable to what you have to give back to a certain point.
Which is the other issue. The accountability was missing.
Yeah.
I think the accountability was missing. It was very. Also, when you keep going out, you do this bad action, they leave you. You do this bad action, they leave you. Like tolerance can have its limits.
Yes.
Because the moment you keep tolerating someone, at a point they feel like you're okay with that. So sometimes you draw the line in the sand. To just clarify that beyond this, we're not. Which speaks to the boundaries problem. I think that was.
Yeah, does that speak to the fact that you think, in your opinion, that the partners of Jonasi never really drew boundaries, and perhaps whatever was happening to them was a lack of clearly defined boundaries?
Yeah, and I think it's as clear as day that the bounds were difficult at work. Even in the past, if on one hand someone comes back and they have a wife, why do you go ahead and marry them without the knowledge of not even if there was knowledge of that, because the
surely.
primary relationship was monogamous. So if that changes, there has to be broad consent. I agree. I think a question of boundaries, right? Because everyone has bounds, and those bounds have to be clear.
Yeah, and a question of
when they're abused,
like mutual responsibility on Jonas's part, the whole idea of extraction, but on the partner's part, to what responsibility do you owe to yourself? At what point in time does a person know that a boundary, do they even have boundaries in the first place? If you have them, at what point in time do you have the non-negotiables? Do you walk away from something simply because boundaries are not respected, rather than staying for so long and going so far as lodging an attempt to infect someone with a killer disease?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of which, I know you're fresh from the bar.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Very many hearty congratulations.
I see. Hey, welcome, my brother. Welcome from the...
We normally used to call them the trenches. You know, when someone calls you like
how Thomas Shelby used to speak.
Yeah.
When he was speaking about France, the way they characterized it, you got the impression that you'd be some French trench trying to shoot at some Nazi guy or something.
It's more like
that.
me saying I am by the rivers of Babylon, where I'm sitting down and I am weeping as I remember Zion.
Speaking about the law, Herod.
Yes.
The law and how it interacts in this situation. I understand you did some analysis on the marriage bill, the one which was dropped by the Honorable Pendy.
Yeah, sure.
What systems of closure do people have who are in the situation, say, which the wife of Jonas, the first wife of Jonas, do you know the first wife of, there was a promise to marry, the wife who paid his tuition.
Yes.
Who paid, there was a promise to marry.
Yes, that's true. Back. Yeah.
You can start there. I've seen a case where someone had to repay.
Yes.
I don't know, because it was a lot. It was a roller coaster. It was a serious one. From that point, what closure do people have?
Yeah, so I think the closure people normally have, or the safeguards, are normally within the law. But I think for starters, one of the closures has always been a breach of a promise to marry. I think very many people are oblivious of the fact that they have such a right, or they have such an opportunity to sue for that. I think recently during my clerkship, we were handling a matter around a man who sued our client for a breach of a promise to marry. And I was also shocked because it is a concept I had last encountered in undergraduate under common law system. I even used to think it was just a common law sort of right, but it's actually a real existing right that when someone promises to marry you, you suffer a certain kind of, you take up certain kind of responsibilities. When someone promises to marry said person, that person tells their parents, they prepare themselves mentally, some of them even move in and they do such things. And when that does not happen, the law normally recognizes that such mental anguish, sometimes even financial loss. Sometimes people are more likely to commit financially to a relationship when there's a promise to marry, because now they know it's really going to work. Sometimes on a promise to marry, they buy cars, buy houses. Some people even say that if you want me to get married to you, I must see a house in my names. And a person goes out of their way, they build a house, they bring it to you, then you're like, okay, you know what? Now I promise I am going to marry you. Only for them to turn afterwards, and the house no longer in the person's names, it has since been legally changed. Where is the recourse? And the recourse has always been in the law, the breach of the promise to marry. But the law is also quite expansive and also quite restrictive in the same ground. You see, Ugandan jurisprudence under courts has restricted the grounds of divorce to only 3: adultery, cruelty, and desertion. There's a ground that normally comes up, which is called the irreparable breakdown of marriage. And such a ground has not been given a force of law. As a matter of fact, even courts have normally gone away from it and emphasized that there are only 3. So it means that if someone is not adulterous, if someone does not beat you and they're not cruel to you, and if person does not desert you, leaving you in a house for like 3 years, then you can never divorce them. That means with the other social pressures, the law is keeping you in marriage. The other social pressures are also keeping you there. Then what that means is that you're going to end up becoming a wife to Jonasi. You're going to go through all this for as long as Jonasi does not cheat. Or even worse, if Jonasi is a Muslim and polygamy is allowed, or if he's a traditionalist, the Customary Marriages Act allows polygamy. It says it is potentially polygamous. It says that the nature of customary marriages are that they are potentially polygamous. It means that you have no way out. He's going to keep on having very many other women as long as they are official, like Jonasi could do his things. And then perhaps he's not beating you and he's not deserting you, then you can never leave that marriage. If you add that to social pressures, family pressure, and the fact that they know you to have been in a marriage for 20 years, there's simply no way out. So I think the form of closure does not really exist. So I think it's one of the things that the new marriage bill was trying to interrogate. Can we have other alternative ways out? Could we perhaps, the debate around the marriage bill was also centering around the fact that could we have another ground brought in? I think stakeholders were looking at that, such as irreparable breakdown of marriage, as it is in other countries. And as of now, the marriage bill as it was being pushed by Sarah Opendi, if you noticed, there are so many other papers of parliament just in the last former parliament, this year alone, that have always had the marriage bill. It first came up for reading, it was referred back to the committees, then a public consultation was already made in the same marriage bill. Since then, a number of pastors, even your pastor, must have attended, or your bishop, to have their views weighed in. And it has never been touched.
It's a very religiously charged piece of legislation.
Do you think the parliament fears it for some reason?
They must.
Yeah. And why would that
they
be?
must. Cultural institutions, because marriage is at it speaks to daily life. Legislating things to do with daily life, anyone that wants votes tends to avoid them. Legislating, for example, on taxes which increase the price of food, or
yes.
or oxygen, or even fuel. It's one of the, they legislate about it, but closely. Part of why they will establish UNOC, because it's directly approximate. Then marriage, issues of the bedroom. The moment there's a time, remember the alcohol control bill?
Yes, sure.
It was suggesting that people stop drinking at midnight, my brother. That was going nowhere. Because you see, the president's voters are, of course, seated in there. And again, going back to the story of the polygamists, it's in the recent census, it suggests that there's so many Ugandans who are in relationships that are unclear, and even marriages are facing like a fundamental strain with regards to the traditional. I don't know what is causing a bit of a problem. It seems as though it's increasingly becoming a problem. How do you deal with these structural issues? How it seems as though it's a growing culture of people having like multiple partners or not existing within that traditional monogamous structure. I don't know how do we deal with it as a society, because ultimately it affects how you raise children as a society. Should society push for more for one form of organizing the family structure? Would it be infringing on the personal rights of those who want to explore things like customary Muslim polygamous marriages?
Yeah, so I think the nature of the law, as we have known it in jurisprudence, is that the law always reflects the spirit of the times. I believe that the framers of the bill, the marriage bill by Sarah Opendi still, had certain things in mind. One of those are the structural problems that people have. Many people, that's what we call in Uganda, kaundo kakovye dinisa, are in places where they don't know if marriage will happen or not. That's what we call cohabitation for a long period of time. There's a very, very interesting part of the bill, provision of the bill, that criminalizes holding yourself out as though you are married. So this part of the bill says that if, let's say, I cohabit with a woman, and perhaps she's even using some of my names, we share a joint bank account, and we are known as though we are married, that means we are holding ourselves out as though we are married. So it becomes an offense that is punishable. The whole idea of the objective of that is, if you want to get married, please get married, because that creates closure and a sense of security for your partner rather than them waiting on for so long. So I think that was the way of the bill to protect the institution of marriage, whereby people should only be together. But of course, like you have said, just like the alcohol bill was, there's a lot of backlash on that because there are people who want to still have that kind of arrangement. And there's also a misinterpretation because people were asking, what about me with my campus girlfriend? Shall we be imprisoned for such things? Then enforcement also becomes an ideal question. But then also we have structural problems as a whole, because if you see what the movie The Polygamist, the series, is trying to depict, is that polygamy is having a very, very bad image painted of it. The image is nearly every single person who is a polygamist, most likely they have money, because for you to afford one or two very, very good honeys in Nalia or Chanja, you need to have quite a bag. So the idea is polygamy is being misrepresented as something bad. Of course, for good reason, because you also have problems with raising up children in polygamous families. I think
population issues.
Population issues,
here.
but also parental issues. I think the most stable form of parenting and marriage is where children are allowed to see both types of energy. They can see the masculine energy from their father and the feminine energy from their mother. It's a healthy balance. A good young girl and a good young boy sees both as they grow up, and they become proper human beings. But if it's a polygamy kind of separation marriage, there are always explanations that have to be made. Mommy, why don't we stay with daddy? Daddy, where is mommy? At school, children have both parents. Me, I don't have them. Or perhaps I want to go to daddy's place, and you're trying to explain to the child, please do not go because it's a stepmother. And most times you end up vilifying a stepmother or vilifying the father. Children end up hearing one-sided stories.
Yeah, sure.
And at the end of the day, you don't have a whole individual. That individual needs to work so hard on himself when he grows up to make sure that he is able...
Or they'll have a bad image of men.
Of men as a whole.
Of women. So for them to get a shared understanding of reality.
Of reality as it is.
It would be good for them to be raised in families.
Both.
Where there's significant presence of both, and monogamy provides that chance.
It maximizes that value polygamy. More than polygamy. But I think at the end of the day, then we then ask ourselves, okay, if we are to vilify polygamy, must we all be monogamists? What about the people who are true believers and practitioners of the Islam faith? They
that are polygamists.
Yes, have grown up as Muslims. They have grown up reciting the Quran. Recently, a friend of mine was telling me that there are 12-year-old children who can recite the entire Quran. That is all they have. And I think we have seen a certain level of order. Perhaps there are many reasons. There are many ways.
Is there an orderly way of doing so?
An orderly way of doing so? What do we see from Saudi Arabia?
Tradition, even African customs.
Even African customs themselves, So, and you cannot argue that all polygamy families have turned out as the polygamists. In fact, you would even argue that the example of Jonasi is somewhat a little bit detached from the majority realities of people.
Some people can argue that it was not polygamy. It was a promiscuous, monogamous man who, in an attempt to deal with the consequences of their adventures, then I had to make it official that these are wives, but ideally where they?
Which is a very interesting point. That means perhaps the title shouldn't have been polygamist. It should have been promiscuous, because that is what he was doing.
Is right.
Because the true practice of polygamy is, and by the way, you will get shocked that even within polygamous arrangements like Islam, you have adultery as a ground for divorce. So the question is, what is adultery? Adultery in its true sense is having more than, or sleeping with someone either outside marriage or having more than one sexual partner. But adultery becomes a ground in Islam or in other forms of polygamy where you are sleeping with someone who is not your official wife. That means at a point in time, if a person has 4 wives, they are lawfully wedded to them. It's an actual polygamy. They can actually sleep with any of those and it is okay. But
isn't there a consent for second? Because what had happened here was, you remember the way they were going to declare that now we have a second. Love has entered the Gomorrah family. If you kind of watched it, it seems as though it is the wife who was pushing for it, not So the consent was not there at that specific
Yes, the
level.
consent was not there.
It was an
Yes,
an
that's very
effort
true.
to manage the promiscuous reputation that a man had,
And to
I
keep
wanted
your
to paint
reputation
it
as well.
polygamy.
Yes,
Like
yes,
there's
yes.
a thin line between.
Yes, of course, even with traditional polygamies like Islam and even within the African society,
Yeah.
they're actually well-recognized ones. As a matter of fact, the women themselves, is why the term came in Buganda, that okwaule bisenge. Back then, a man that was in a rightful polygamy had everyone provided for. They had every wife with their own bedroom, and the wives themselves would move together. I think Amidst is a very, very good example. You see him with his wives all together. So those are his wives. He's not having any affair outside those wives. And he's doing so because he is a Muslim.
I don't know whether he does it as outside,
Okay,
but
perhaps, yeah. By
Yeah.
what we see, that's
but
how,
I get the concept. I get the
yeah,
concept.
it means that the arrangement of polygamy, and I think Islam, I've had people with Muslims say it, that it has always been quite orderly, whereby the condition is that if you're to have more than one wife, you must have the capacity to take care of them. Arguments are normally made around population. The argument is, and statistics show, that you have much more females than the males. So some people do it as a way of being able, if I have the resources of Elon Musk,
Okay.
a trillionaire,
Okay.
the first trillionaire after that IPO of his company is
SpaceX,
going
yeah.
out. You can have 6 women, you can take good care of them, and perhaps they could all be in the same home for as long as there is consent. The women themselves know that this is my co-wife, we are living together in harmony, and we have seen that happening. So I think,
Yeah, and people, I
Yeah.
don't know, because I have seen many minorities, very many minority tribes encourage polygamy
yes.
in order to increase the population of their. So you'll find within a specific tribe they can't intermarry, but they would rather sleep with their cousin, because the moment they sleep with their cousin, they are producing an extra person within their tribe to expand population. Even within religions, you find that certain religions they encourage that you intermarry between the religion, because the moment you intermarry the religion, you are producing
more and more people for the religion,
that
and more
will be
believers and
indoctrinated.
faith.
Something,
Yeah.
the logic that also some people who produce very many children is that in the African society, more children meant you are extending the legacy. So if you had multiple wives, then it would mean you are able to have a bit more children. Of course, issues around STDs started coming about, HIV, resources and land. But I think that was their logic by and large, which people really, they still use that very same logic in various contexts.
What do you think about the opposite of polygamy? Because I think South Africa is quite unique.
Polyandry.
Yes,
polyamory, rather.
polyamory. I think it's very much practiced in South Africa as well.
It is.
If I
Like
am not
one
wrong.
man, one woman
One
having
woman having very many men. So, and again, polygamy is a South African show.
I've had the feminist movement actually say that if men have that right to be a polygamist, we should also be polyandrists. I've heard of the argument.
Do you think a woman who is in such an arrangement can also be another Jonasi?
I think there are many. There's several. Society has got to a point where they want to normalize the idea that it can happen. I know a few people in society who have many children with different husbands. They see different, and they want it to be normal. Whenever it is raised, they say that you are sort shaming me. That's what they say. They don't want that for them to be called describing that. They don't want it to be seen as normal.
As normal people with
But of
multiple
course,
partners?
with being a polygamist,
Yeah.
I think the brand is becoming a bit unique. But it's normally with I think with polygamy, it's people are they are more likely to say, look, I identify as a wife of this, but men have ego. I don't know whether there would be a situation.
A man who would be like,
I
we are 3 husbands to
We are
this
3
one
husbands,
woman,
so
and we
there's-
share her last name.
We share her last name.
Yeah,
It's a bit of a situation. But I think, for me, silently, I think where we've reached, according to the statistics of Uganda AIDS Commission,
Yes.
I think there is a lot of like poly It's called polyamory. I'm trying to find the right language. Polyamory,
polyamory,
something
one
like
of those.
that.
Yes, yeah, sure.
Just as it is silent. So you'll find one lady is sleeping with
a number.
with 16 Jonases. Like even in that very movie,
Yes.
there was the wives of Jonasy were seeing other men.
And also seeing Jonas as
So
well.
in that case,
Yeah.
technically Jonas had been married. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
People who that sexual network, I think, is broad. I think women themselves find that they are doing so silent, only that this time they don't give the names.
I am curious as to whether also the polygamy movie speaks to women who deliberately put themselves perhaps under such situations. I would give an example of Sheba, whereby we have a number of celebrities who are increasingly becoming second wives. I think Cardi B was a good example. She left Offset to go become a baby mama of another rapper, another man altogether.
It seems like the people who have power generally, I'm thinking, and I think the
Jonasy,
discussion we've had, I think they have those specific vulnerabilities or inclinations. It's something to discuss, I think.
Yeah.
People who tend to have power, either money, they seem to have more relationships by... is it a question? I don't know.
And it seems people are much more comfortable being second wives to people with such money.
Or second husbands.
Or second husbands.
It might be like a natural inclination. And whereas if someone who was like poor did the same,
it would be something else.
It would be a bit problematic. It would be like for you, maybe you I think that's the whole argument of the Islamic faith. It seems as though the more money you have, the more people can tolerate your shortcomings, which I don't think is proper. I think it's if an idea is bad, let it just be bad. It can't be good only for the rich. Like the rich are the ones who can only access certain sins.
The rich are the ones who can objectify, the ones who can have so many women, and there is largely no backlash to them.
Yeah, I think it's like a very bad argument to say that it's only the rich who can access certain sins. For you who are in the middle class, you should prefer an action should be bad both for the poor and for those who have money. Yeah. But I think this of course we've started this journey of the Policy Digest circles. I think policy is about the issues that affect us, and we have to really deal with these cultural issues, because culture is what sort of informs how genuine society is organized, and from that organization then you forge policy, you forge movements, you forge narratives. And as you could have seen the conversation, you tie very many loops in terms of how they come in, and all this thought is what makes its way into legislation, into how leaders think, into how we organize our society. Thank you for having been a part of this. Thank you for listening to the Policy Digest podcast, the Center for Policy Analysis podcast that is profiling African ideas and people that are shaping the future of their communities. Subscribe to all our platforms on YouTube and Podbean.